Hi, hello. How we doing, fam? How we doing? There's still, what is today? A little over a week left of the month. And I wanted to just come on here and do a quick energy check-in. We're going to pull some cards, a little midweek check-in, and kind of just feel into the collective energy because it's all over the place. I feel like I haven't been able to sit in like one frequency in over like a month and a half. And I do blame Mars retrograde for absolutely all of this. So this isn't for anybody's zodiac sign. I know I like to do a lot of tarot for zodiac. I know I like to kind of like step. This is for everybody. This is for anybody who happens to find this stream, which I imagine will be after I record it. If you're meant to see this, you will. If you're meant to kind of like tap in, you will. If you know anybody who you think might benefit from this as well, go ahead and like, share, follow, share whatever you want. I am very intentionally trying to tune in to what can get us through this energy with the most grace, the most ease, and honestly, the most humor. Like, I feel like this is something that we're going to have to kind of constantly remind ourselves again and again as the year progresses that we deserve to laugh, we deserve joy, we deserve each other, we deserve connection. Just because there's an energy that's like trying to command the collective doesn't mean you have to. Doesn't mean you have to do it. So I'm going to look in between now and the end of the week and just kind of see what's coming up for everybody. And I already kind of love what I'm seeing, if I'm being honest. These are just little clusters of energy you can lean into to try to draw inspiration. The Ace of Coins or the Ace, but this is also my, I don't have the card, the box with me, but this is my Adventure Time Tarot deck, which is like super, super cute. Ace of Coins. I want you guys to be extremely careful and mindful of information that you take in around what people are projecting for the economy, specifically for the United States or even the global economy, unless they are an actual economist, unless they actually know what they're talking about. There's a lot of doomsayers out there right now. And some of those people are legitimately afraid. They're legitimately trying to prevent things from going wrong. I'm going to guarantee that most of them, though, are just looking for clicks and attention. Fear is a psyop. Fear sells. And when you get people really riled up, you get them dependent on you for more information so you can stay even more hypervigilant. And when it comes to believing in the power to create abundance, that power never goes away. It doesn't matter who's in charge of what. Your consciousness is what creates your reality. Your imagination is what creates your reality. So if you're continuing to lean into the energy of abundance, you will be in the energy of abundance. Abundance doesn't necessarily mean one thing. Abundance is having what you need when you need it, often with ease and grace. Okay. I do have judgment. Now, this feels like wake up call energy. This feels a little bit more like, okay, like no more burying my head in the sand about certain things that maybe I was feeling a little naive about, a little overly optimistic. I'm one of those spiritual practitioners that does believe in keeping the frequency high, so to speak. Like, I think that's just good for your mental health, your spiritual hygiene. But I also believe in taking things seriously and believing what's in front of you. It's my moon in Virgo. I have one foot very firmly planted in this reality and the other foot is God knows where. This feels like, okay, like I'm paying attention. Head on a swivel kind of energy, right? But that does not mean that takes away from this energy here. Okay. And any ace is an offering. It's like the universe being like, do you want this? Like, is this something you like? I used to call this, like, imagine that you're getting handed a sacred lump of clay. You can make anything out of it. What are you going to make with it? Like, how are you going to channel that imagination? I have the sun, which is the most optimistic card in the tarot deck, like, period. Like, the only thing you can really say negative about the sun is that sometimes it illuminates everything and you have to see everything. You have to see the truth. You have to see what's in front of you. You have to accept reality as it is, which is a very, very powerful metaphysical tool, by the way. It's alchemy. Being able to radically accept your reality without resistance is how you create magic. Like, that's how magic spells, if you want to call them spells, if you want to call them prayers, if you want to call them whatever, that's how they, like, if you want them to happen quickly, stop fighting with your reality. Start accepting where you're at. Say yes to the moment. Okay. The Fool is all about trust. which I know is in short supply right now, and that is by design. If a entity wanted to control you, a really smart way to do it would be to convince you that your neighbors are not trustworthy, that your own mind, your own discernment isn't trustworthy. Only they are trustworthy. And they usually convince you of that trustworthiness through fear tactics. Fear is a psyop, and they keep saying it. So the Fool is not only about trusting the universe, which I think everybody's on a different page with that. It's also about trusting yourself. How can you learn to trust your own inner discernment? How can you learn to trust your intuitive yeses and nos? One of the things I like to teach my students is how to kind of come into their body, into somatic awareness, so they can start to notice what a yes and a no feels like. For me, a yes feels very warm. It feels like from my abdomen kind of outward. It feels like expansion. It feels like butterflies. It feels like relief sometimes is a big yes. Like my whole body just kind of like settles in. A no is the opposite of that. It's like I tense up, I get agitated, or nothing happens. If there's nothing that happens, if it's just kind of null and void, that's also a no. I tend to try as often as possible to lean into the hell yesness of it all. Like a hell yes, like that's confirmation that I'm on the right track. Okay. So I'm just going to pull some advice cards. This is probably going to be a quick check-in. Some advice cards for moving into the second half of the week. Okay. So this is going to make some people feel some kind of way. We're in a threshold right now. Like, yes, I know it feels like a lot has been set in stone over the past couple of days in a lot of ways, but it hasn't, not officially. People who speak with a lot of confidence, like confidence is a superpower. Charisma is a superpower too. When you combine both of those things, okay, it's a very commanding kind of energy. It helps command reality, and it can con you into thinking that that is the only reality available. We're in a threshold right now, and we're going to be in a threshold for a while. I feel like 2025 is big threshold energy. It's big Hecate energy. It's kind of trying to get us oriented into where we want to go next. It's like birth canal energy. It's just beginning. And I keep hearing from my guides, like nothing is set in stone. And this is my own personal belief. This is not my guides. I don't think that much in reality is fated. I think most of this is a game of free will. Whenever I wake up in the morning, my guides show me a D20. It's like a roll of the dice kind of at this point where the collective is going to end up, which can be fun, but also a little chaotic and sometimes a little bit scary. Nothing is set in stone. Reality is still being created. I think the only times that are actually fated are when you're born and when you depart this earth. And even that is up for debate, honestly. I have poised. This is the energy of getting prepared for when Mars stations direct. And also when Uranus stations direct. There's going to be a huge heave-ho of energy coming very shortly. Mars, not so much. Mars isn't going to heave-ho until the end of February. For now, though, I want some of you guys to really think about hearing the word percolate. What's percolating in that imagination station of yours? What do you want to create this year? What do you want to make of yourself this year? And I can already hear some of you being like, nothing. Like, I want to just rot in bed. That's also okay. I think resting the nervous system is important. I think a lot of us are overdue for an extended vacation when it comes to overproductivity, internalized capitalism, all that kind of stuff. But even in a resting state, you're creating energy. You're creating a flow. Some of you might want to look into more meditation. Some of you might want to look into breath work. You can do that laying down. You can do that and relax. I also have blessed, and this is for those of you who are trying to stay in alignment in a certain frequency. Gratitude journal, gratitude list, have a group chat if you're a group chat kind of person. And once a day, you and your friends hold each other accountable and talk about what you are grateful for that day. Especially if you're having a bad day, especially if things aren't going well. I've had days like that where like everything feels like it's falling apart, and yet I still had dinner. I had a full belly. I had a roof over my head, which is a blessing. Clean water, which is a blessing. There is, even in what feels like for some of us the darkest hour, always things to be grateful for. Always, always having yourself, having your heart, having your ability to empathize, to love, to connect, even if you've been hurt, even if you tend to be more on the cynical side of things, you still have yourself, you have your mind, your imagination. Okay. Some archetypes for you guys to think about moving into the next several days. The Witness. This is coming back to the Judgment card. What are you paying attention to? What are you giving your attention to? What are you choosing to interact with? And I have to hold myself accountable here because I think, like many people, the urge to doom scroll right now is very strong. And it has almost like an addictive quality to it, right? It's like that constant drip of like adrenaline and cortisol, which I do believe actually do have chemically addictive impacts on the body and the mind. But it's a choice. Like I always have to catch myself and slap my own hand a little bit, being like, put the fucking phone down. Like, why am I choosing to engage with content that's making me feel like this? Because that feeling, like I mentioned before, that contraction, that's a huge no from my body. That's a sign that my body doesn't want this. This isn't good for me. What are you bearing witness to? This doesn't mean that you ignore everything going on around you. I think especially right now, it is important to pay attention, but it's also important to pay attention to what you're paying attention to. Do you feel me? This is coming back to that threshold energy. We're still at the start of the year. A lot of you are at the start of your spiritual practice too, is what I'm hearing. And what an adventure. Like, what an incredible time for people to wake up. What an incredible time for people to discover spirituality, whatever that means to you, because it's a huge, broad field. This says vision, start, time, and transition. Do you realize how potent your energy is to create? Do you realize how divine the power of your consciousness is? I have the flowering. This is giving very Venus and Pisces energy, bloom, harvest, excellence, abundance. Coming back to that Ace of Coins that we pulled earlier. What are you growing in your garden? And what are you watering your garden with? Are you watering your garden? What is blooming for you? Okay. I'm just going to pull one last thing to close this up with. This will be nice, short, and sweet. Thanks to everybody who's been joining. Take time to regulate. The Four of Cups is about emotional regulation, processing. Before you take on one more thing, before one more person asks something of you, have you taken care of everything else? Have you processed everything else? What would it mean for you to just sit in silence for like 5 minutes? What comes up? Can you sit for 5 minutes? Can you sit for 60 seconds? When I was starting my meditation program, whatever you want to call it, I'm still not like an everyday meditator, but I try. I had to start with 60 seconds. And that was all I could tolerate. I had so much nervous system activation and ADHD and the whole gamut, but I did it. I did 60 seconds every day for a week. And then I did 2 minutes. And then I did 3. And eventually I got up to 15. And now there are times where I can just sit and be still for like 40 minutes. And it's amazing. Like my body loves it. My nervous system loves it. It's a reset. You need that passivity. We need that healing collectively as well. Okay. I'm going to leave you with that for now. Until next time, I'll probably do another check-in on Sunday. So stay tuned. Give me a follow, like, share, all the good stuff if you enjoyed the stream. Take care of yourself.